I'm Connor Old, and welcome back to another episode of Old's Oscar Countdown. And this week, I'm going to be giving you my predictions of the 2021 Golden Globe nominations. But if you're new to the series, what I do every single week is talk about a different Oscar category, and I break down my predictions. But this is still an awards-based channel, and with the Golden Globe nominations coming up this Wednesday, I thought I'd give a little prediction video as to what I think will get nominated. You can also expect my predictions of what I think will win before the Golden Globes happen, as well as my usual Oscar predictions, and talking about SAGs, which will also be coming up this week too. Now, I'm only going to be covering my predictions for the film, not the TV, because I'm much more experienced in that sense, and that's what this sort of channel is built around. I also want to mention at the top of the show that this is primarily an Oscar channel, and that's the thing that I think is the most culturally relevant and acknowledged. But the Golden Globes are still very fun. There's a great award show, but it is still worth mentioning that they don't necessarily have a huge impact on how the Oscar race plays out. That sometimes they sort of give Academy members permission to do things, or sometimes if you have a really great televised speech, that could help your campaign, particularly for an actor. But for the most part, it's very good to understand that the Academy has about 4,000 members. There's a lot of those are industry people, so actors, directors, they vote on the movies, where the Golden Globes are about 80 people. That's it, versus 4,000. And the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which are mostly consist of journalists and people of that sort. So there's a very different way in terms of getting nominated, in terms of course, many different categories. So I just want to put that at the top. The Golden Globes, while they can be important to some factors for the Oscars, ultimately they're not a huge award show in terms of predicting the Oscars. But this year I think they'll be more relevant because we don't really know what the big Oscar movies are. I mean, as much as I give my predictions, this Golden Globes could really sort of shift the narrative of the race and what's in front and what's not, like they have done so in many years before. So I'm going to go through the different categories one by one and just give you my list of predictions and tell you briefly why I went with this over, say, something else. So starting off with the main one, Best Film Drama, the most competitive category of the year. This one has 5 nominations instead of, say, the Oscars Best Picture, which includes 10. The Globes also sort of divide between comedy and drama. So Best Film Drama, I have here The Trial of the Chicago 7. That's my first pick. I think that's just sort of a slam dunk lock. Should sort of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, similar to the Academy, does sort of skew older, so this should be a time that the voters really remember fondly about, and I think is sort of the rousing appeal that none of the other movies really necessarily have. Nomadland is sort of the festival favorite, the critical darling that often sort of gets recognized and is the frontrunner as right now to win Best Picture, so we expect it to also get nominated here and resonate with the members. I have here Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is sort of an outside pick for some people, but I really think it's going to get in because I just looked at my nominations. I think it's going to get 2 key acting nominations in both Chadwick Boseman and Viola Davis. And then I also think it's going to get Screenplay. I think it's a movie that has been appreciated for its sort of non-play-like elements and sort of the narrative behind it. I also think it's a movie that will be well respected within the Academy because of sort of the play-like elements and also sort of the timeliness of the story. I also have One Night in Miami as my next pick for a similar reason, because of that play reason, because the Golden Globes often factor in stars and like meeting people, particularly when there is an award show that's happening live, when they all sort of gather together. They'll nominate people in things like Best Original Song that are celebrities, people who are celebrities, because they just want them to show up for the award show and meet them and sort of reward them, and they're a little bit more celebrity focused than something like the Academy. So Regina King here directs One Night in Miami. I think it's going to be a movie that has that Regina King factor, and they really like her. I mean, she's always done very well at award shows, but also the movie is very well liked, timely, based on a play, and has great acting performances, which the Globes also really like. So I feel confident in One Night in Miami. And then with my 5th slot, I went with Mank, just because there's been a real sort of critical and way backlash by the fact that Mank has not gotten a lot of critics awards. It's won some things for Amanda Seyfried, but it really has disappointed in that regard. And if the Golden Globes don't feel the sort of need and pressure to give it to something like Mank, then they won't do that. But that being said, I still have it here because it's still being pushed heavily by Netflix. It's still a movie about Hollywood and would definitely sort of appeal to sort of the glitz and glam party people that the Golden Globes are. So I think Mank also gets in. So those are my 5 for Best Film Drama. I have here Best Film Drama Actress, my first pick being Frances McDormand for Nomadland. I think this is a slam dunk for a nomination at the very least. We'll talk about, eventual winners when that comes, when the nominations come out. But Nomadland, I expect to be very well liked, and she is that movie and has gotten a lot of the critical buzz, has that sort of festival rollout, so I still believe in Nomadland as a strong contender. I also have Viola Davis, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, as another one who they've awarded before, who they really appreciate. Similar to the Oscars, the Golden Globes always sort of follow suit with Viola Davis's nominations, and I think that they'll really appreciate the sort of powerhouse performance as Ma Rainey and sort of the veteran that they want to nominate her here as well. Then in my third place, I have Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of a Woman. I think this race is actually kind of up in the air as to who will win. And I could very well see them really attaching on to Vanessa Kirby because she has a sophistication in the way she talks, this sort of British accent, but also sort of the vulnerabilities that she has within the movie. It's just a tough movie to watch, but she's so terrific in it that I think you come away from the movie going, who is that? She's so terrific. I have to give her something, especially for being so young, yada, yada, yada. So I think Vanessa Kirby, even though Pieces of a Woman doesn't really have any other nominations aside from one other coming up, I do think it's an acting showcase, and Vanessa Kirby is really that star. Then I have Carey Mulligan from Promising Young Woman. I think that will be a very interesting film to see how well it does. It could very well get in for Best Film Drama, and could get in for Best Screenplay, and who knows, maybe Meryl for Best Director. And could be, wow, this is a big Oscar-type movie, and they really appreciate it, and they really love it. But I'm also worried about the divisiveness of it. Will it really resonate with these members? It's hard to say as of right now, and right now I sort of went on the side that they'll probably be more likely to not like it as much because I think it has a little bit more of a divisive nature. But I still think Carey Mulligan gets in for the actress. She's terrific in the movie. She does a lot, and she is sort of well respected by the Globes, and seems to be an actress that's sort of finally getting her due after sort of in sort of a daring performance, which the Globes have sort of rewarded before. And those types of movies have also won before. I'm thinking of Aaron Taylor Johnson in something like Nocturnal Animals, which is big, or even something like Allison Janney in I, Tonya. Really sort of love to hate. Even though I, Tonya wasn't a huge Oscar movie, it still ended up winning the Oscar, but that really started with the Golden Globe, so I feel a similar way here with Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman. And then my final slot, I went with Andra Day, The United States v. Billie Holiday. I think this is going to be the one movie that sort of pops at the very end, and people go, oh yeah, have the Golden Globe see that? You know, a couple of years ago, it was All the Money in the World, which really popped, and it was sort of like the last-minute breaking movie that the Globes members saw and were really blown away from, and they just nominated a bunch of places. And I think that will happen here, particularly with Andra Day, because she's a diva, because she's playing a real-life person, because she does her own singing. You know, Andra Day was most recently sung at the inauguration of the new president of the United States, so she is very much campaigning in that respect, and I think she'll do well with the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, although this final slot is definitely up in the air. But then I have Best Film Drama Actor. I have Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I expect this to get nominated and to win. It seems like it's going to be Chadwick's year because of his unfortunate passing in a movie that I expect to be well liked. I have Anthony Hopkins for The Father, a movie which I think is sort of on the outset for a lot of these things, but I still think gets the acting support in Olivia Colman and Anthony Hopkins. But I think someone like Ma Rainey, that gets in for, say, something like Best Film Drama because it has, I think, two stronger acting performances in terms of chances of it winning versus, say, Anthony Hopkins and Olivia Colman, which are sort of on the outset of winning as of right now. Gary Oldman in Mank, like I said, I still believe that Mank is a well-respected movie, and Gary Oldman just won the Golden Globe a few years ago for Darkest Hour. He's a guy who's a well-respected guy within the industry, and I think that he'll sort of be swept along with the success of the movie. I have Riz Ahmed here for Sound of Metal. Sound of Metal seems to be the indie movie that everyone loves, the movie that feels like their discovery. I can see it doing very well here, particularly though if it doesn't say get in for these other categories. I think it does get in for Riz Ahmed because for a lot of people he's the standout, and I still think a lot of people kind of stumble upon this movie and find this movie and go, wow, that was really powerful. Why aren't people talking about this? And that sort of passion can really drive you up, and I think that's why Riz Ahmed should get nominated. And then my fifth slot here, I went with Delroy Lindo for Da 5 Bloods, who was very much the big and boisterous performance, playing a huge Trump supporter in Da 5 Bloods, and is a complicated character, but is very much sort of out and about with that. And maybe people watching it now and sort of revisiting will maybe find it more dated, or may find it more prescient with the Capitol Hill riots and things like that. Regardless, so I think Delroy Lindo has such a sort of terrific performance that everyone's sort of been talking about. Even still, it was released past March. People are still bringing it up, the fact that he should sort of get nominated as well. Now going into the comedy musical side, for Best Film, Comedy or Musical, I have The Prom, Borat Subsequent Movie Film, On the Rocks, Hamilton and Emma. The first one here, The Prom, seems like the ultimate Globes movie. They always like to nominate a musical. It's really the only musical aside from Hamilton, which is a stage play musical, on this list. It's very much colorful and over the top and indulgent, and I think it's always a sort of type of Globes movie that not only gets nominated but also wins. It's sort of the life-affirming movie that I think will end sort of positive, upbeat note that they'll really appreciate, and sort of the late-breaking movie that I think will do very well at the Globes, but maybe less so at the Oscars. It seems to be in a way made for them, and I think they're going to respond to it. I have here Borat subsequent movie film, because this has been sort of the critical darling, even within a lot of people who don't like comedies have been sort of giving it the best movie of the year in something like A.O. Scott from New York Times. I think the Golden Globes crowd will sort of respond to this and be like, hey, this is sort of the most acclaimed comedy of the year. Even though it's silly, it is sort of political satire in a way, and they'll sort of get that aspect in terms of wanting to show it a little bit more respect. On the Rocks is another movie that feels kind of Golden Globes as Rashida Jones, Bill Murray, sort of father-daughter, caper, screwball comedy type movie, which is such an easy type of movie to enjoy watching on Apple TV+. I'd be surprised if you watch it and you go, wow, that was sort of disappointing, because it's just so much fun as a movie, and I think it just totally fits into sort of the sophistication that the Globes like to feel, but not in terms of laugh-out-loud gross comedy, more sort of the light-hearted humor comedy, older age comedy. I'm a huge fan of On the Rocks, so I'd love to see it get nominated here. Then I went with Hamilton. This is sort of the big question. It could very well win this category, or it could get not nominated at all. It's a stage play, but the thing is Hamilton is the biggest thing in the world. That people may not even have seen the stage play movie, but have maybe even seen the play and still nominated here. It was the biggest play probably we've seen in 20 plus years, and really sort of took over the culture. So the Globes having a chance to really reward it, I think they're going to jump on that chance and sort of ride that wave, and they don't want to not nominate Hamilton, so they'll nominate it here. And once again, another musical. And then with my final slot, I went with Emma, because I think this is a movie that people are underrating. I think it's a funny movie with great costumes that fits the sort of comedy period piece element that we've seen do well at the Golden Globes, and sort of surprise. It has a sort of sweet and romantic elements while also sort of being funny. I think it's also a movie that people saw early on in the pandemic and has been around and has been seen by a lot of people, just because it's been one of the early movies that transitioned into video on demand, so much so that I think it does slip in here. Then transitioning to Best Film Comedy Musical Actress. So this is the comedy musical movies, the best actress in these movies. I have Meryl Streep for The Prom. She's somebody who's the sort of central part of the Prom, being very diva-esque, being like an actress, being very sort of insider Hollywood, play like theater kid kind of elements to the performance, and they love Meryl, and Meryl's having such a fun time. It's a slam dunk for a nomination. Then I have Michelle Pfeiffer for French Exit. In a way, this is very much also a slam dunk for a nomination. Even though The French Exit could be a movie that gets in for Best Comedy or Musical, I think it sort of slips out because it doesn't have a lot of momentum. But what does have a lot of momentum is Michelle Pfeiffer, because it's sort of a revival performance for her, because she's a sort of classic Hollywood actress, and they want to nominate her once again because she's been doing great work in something like Mother, and now she's sort of coming back once again with this, and sort of is sassy and really funny in the movie and interesting. And I think they'll really sort of respond to Michelle Pfeiffer as maybe people think Michelle Pfeiffer as a sort of persona. Then Maria Bakalova, Borat subsequent movie film. She could very well win this category. She's getting a lot of critical support, particularly in the supporting actress category. But if we think the movie is going to be well liked as this political satire, I think people will really appreciate her, and she's sort of the standout for a lot of people, because we've seen Borat before. We've seen Sacha Baron Cohen do his great stuff. Who's this new person who's going toe-to-toe with him? That was really impressive for a lot of people, so I wouldn't be surprised to see her get nominated. Then I have Anya Taylor-Joy for Emma, once again sort of going off the back of Emma, but even in a different way, going off the back of The Queen's Gambit. That should be a performance she should get nominated in the TV side, so there's always this debate. If she gets nominated in the TV side, will they get nominated in the film? I think in sort of a weird year, they'll want to nominate her in the film, just because I think that they really like Anya Taylor-Joy, that she's having a moment, that they're really into her, and while they really like The Queen's Gambit, they also remember, oh yeah, she was so terrific in Emma too. I want to nominate her there as well. So I think I'm going based on the fact that there's going to be an Anya Taylor-Joy sort of moment, and I think she slips in for Emma. And then another even wilder pick in this category, I went with Emily Blunt for Wild Mountain Time. This is a movie that could also be the surprise where it goes, oh yeah, this is really well received, and the group, the whole Hollywood Foreign Press Association, really likes this movie. I mean, it's sweet, it's saccharine, it feels kind of like a fairy tale, and Emily Blunt is an actress who they've nominated before. Something like Girl on the Train comes to mind. She's an actress that's really well liked, and this is a movie that I expect the people who really like it, and they'll be so swept away by the romance and love in many ways with Emily Blunt and her character that they'll want to nominate her here. This is my big dark horse pick, so don't be surprised if Emily Blunt gets in for Wild Mountain Time in this category. Then I have Best Film Comedy Musical Actor. My first one being Sacha Baron Cohen for Borat's subsequent movie film, with a similar thinking being that the movie should be well liked, and he's an actor who maybe could even win for something like Best Supporting Actor, which will be coming up. The movie I expect to be well liked, so he should get nominated here. Lin-Manuel Miranda for Hamilton. There may be a debate whether it's him or Leslie Odom, but he's the real face of this movie, and of course the Hamilton play, being the lead Hamilton, writing the play himself and being sort of the face of it. So I'll be surprised if Hamilton does get nominated. Well, I assume Lin-Manuel would also get nominated for Best Lead for Actor, but they may not even see it that way. They may see him as more of an ensemble. They may even just forget to nominate him, so that he could sort of miss out there. I have Dev Patel for Personal History of David Copperfield. It's a similar situation to Emma, the sort of period, sophisticated, funny movie that's not the gross out, laugh out loud kind of Seth Rogen kind of a movie. Seems a little bit more sophisticated and witty and satire-esque, and Dev Patel really sort of is great in this role. Then I have Andy Samberg for Palm Springs, which is sort of the more populist pick, and I haven't had Palm Springs in there because I'm not exactly sure how well it's going to do within members of the Academy. Will they really remember it? I'm a big fan of that movie, and I hope it does well, but I think Andy Samberg is the sort of biggest name for coming out of that movie, and I think will be sort of the more populist pick, and he's very funny and charming in the movie, and will get nominated. And then my final pick, I went with Pete Davidson for The King of Staten Island, because I think this was very much a coronation. So many times when a new Judd Apatow movie came out, we were always wondering, oh, who's the next big star? He did it with Jonah Hill, he did it with Seth Rogen, he did it with Jason Segel, he did it with Amy Schumer, time and time again. And this time, it's Pete Davidson. This is the new SNL star, and I think the Hollywood Foreign Press Association will sort of leapfrog off of that and go like, oh, you told us he's the next big thing? Okay, we're going to give him the next big thing kind of awarded that Judd Apatow, because we don't want to miss that boat. Then, jumping to Best Film Supporting Actress, I have Olivia Colman for The Father. I think this should be a slam dunk nomination because she is so well liked in just the community. I think she was in The Crown, which was also sort of should do well on the TV side. So I expect her movie to be seen and to sort of sympathize and really be the sort of steady rock of a movie that is well liked from a person who's well liked, doing great work. Lock it in. Then I have Amanda Seyfried for Mank. Like I said, a little bit worried for Mank, which is the only reason why she's still at number 2. But she is the presumptive winner in this category and has been doing well within critics groups too. She's of course playing Marion Davies, a real life Hollywood movie star. They love that kind of stuff, and I think that should be good enough to get her in a nomination. I have Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy. I think this is a movie that has done well within the Academy and within the Hollywood Foreign Press Association because it's not really the critics type of movie, but it is definitely emotional, and Glenn Close is such a well-respected actress. She's won a couple of Globes before, even though she's never won an Oscar, so I expect her to be the sole nominee of this film because it's big and it's intense and she puts on the wig, but she's really going for it, and I think the Globes really appreciate those performances. I also have Ellen Burstyn for Pieces of a Woman. Hard to say how Pieces of a Woman could get shut out, but this is a veteran with a really intense dramatic movie, backed by Netflix. Oh, and it's also a movie where she has a big speech in it. We haven't seen Ellen Burstyn be great in a few years, so just giving her that sort of industry achievement, kind of recognition, kind of award. She's so great in so many things. Once again, she's great here in Pieces of a Woman, which has that dramatic kind of Oscar feel, awards feel that feels important. So I think she'll get in here as well. And then my final pick, I went with Jodie Foster for The Mortician. This is a movie that is sort of flying under the radar and could be sort of the surprise oh, what? I've never even heard of that movie. And I think that will happen in this final supporting actress slot. It could go to Yoo Jung-yeon for Minari, but this, once again, this is the Globes. They like their stars. They like their celebrities. Hey, Jodie Foster's in a movie. And in this case, she's actually more than a supporting actress. In a way, she's oftentimes the lead actress in the movie. So that always helps your chances for supporting if you're in the movie a lot and you're reminded of it. I could also see someone like Nicole Kidman get in here. But I just went with a person that they like a lot, which in this case is Jodie Foster, in a movie we haven't seen her in a while, and it's kind of a good reminder that, like, hey, Jodie Foster's a great actress, let's just nominate her here in supporting actress. Then for Best Supporting Actor, my first pick being Sacha Baron Cohen for The Trial of the Chicago 7. I expect him to also get nominated for Borat, but nominated here as well. Like I said, Trial of the Chicago 7, I think this will be their sole nominee and really put the chips behind Sacha Baron Cohen as the standout of the movie. He is sort of the witty, smart, most recognizable member, real-life person playing activist Abby Hoffman. It has a rousing quality to it. I could very well see it winning for Best Film Drama and here for Best Supporting Actor if this sort of strong campaigning which he has been doing really pays off. So I expect him to definitely get nominated, although there very well could be a split between Trial of Chicago actors, or there could be two. Mark Rylance could get nominated. Yahya Abdul-Mateen, Frank Langella, I think could be an outside chance. But right now I think he's the sort of strongest frontrunner and sort of the face of that movie as of right now. Then I have Leslie Odom for One Night in Miami. I expect him to like One Night in Miami. Also, if they like Hamilton, and they may even want to nominate him for Best Lead Actor Comedy Musical, he could get 2 nominations. But he seems to be the sort of standout from the movie, and the person that's the most recognizable. Playing Sam Cooke does his own singing, once again another key factor for Golden Globe winners and nominees, and talks about sort of the more, I guess, sort of neutral, kind of less totally activist person within the 4 people, often combating against Malcolm X's sort of strict, rebellious kind of attitude. He provides a little bit more of a balanced approach, which I think will appreciate more of the sort of liberals within the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. They have Bill Murray for On the Rocks. If they really like their celebrities, they should nominate Bill Murray here because he's very much playing the Bill Murray that everyone thinks Bill Murray is. This elusive figure who's very funny and witty, but it has so much money and can sort of hop in from Paris to France and New York and live his life with such abandon. And I think people really respond to that and not only watch the movie and go, hey, that's a great character, but go like, hey, that's Bill Murray. I want to hang out with Bill Murray. I want him to be in this our party, our sort of award show. Give it to him here, especially if they're seeing On the Rocks and will nominate it for Best Comedy Musical. Then I have the sort of dark horse pick in Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah. This could very well win in this category, but we're not sure how many people have seen Judas and the Black Messiah within the Globes, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, so that's hard to judge, but he has a powerful role playing a person, a real-life person in Fred Hampton of the Black Panther movement, which sort of feels relevant with all the Black Lives Matter movement that happened this year, so that definitely feels like a movie that is playing a real-life person, and it feels politically relevant, and it's a guy they've nominated before, and it's all these factors, so much so that you think, okay, well, Daniel Kaluuya is a person that could win and should get nominated just because of the role that he provides. Then my final pick here, I went with Paul Raci for Sound of Metal. In a way, this is a little bit of a hope pick, but I definitely believe in the fact that for a lot of these Golden Globe voters, they see Sound of Metal without a lot of huge critical reception and appreciation, and they really feel a strong attachment to it because they feel like they discovered it. It feels like the indie movie that could this year. And for me, particularly when I watched the movie, I'm like, who is this guy? Who's Paul Raci? He's terrific in the movie. And I think that sort of groundswell of support, which we have seen in a little bit of critics groups, will start to overcome and really be shown here for the Globes and be the first people to really nominate Paul Raci as a significant great talent. And yes, this guy should be contending. Then Best Director, the first one being Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. This is a movie that feels very much directed in terms of it has a singular vision, it has a great tone and a mood to it. And even though it's sort of plotless in many ways, it has a distinct political message and a sort of deft touch, but that's known now to Chloe Zhao and her style. And I still believe that Nomadland is the front runner. Then I had Aaron Sorkin for The Trial of the Chicago 7. They like to nominate directors for movies they liked. This is a movie that, while it's maybe not obviously directed, does have an obvious writing style, and also is a movie that I think should be well liked because of its content, because of its rousing appeal. Then I went with David Fincher for Mank because it's more of the technical element, the opposite to Aaron Sorkin, where the movie I still think should be well liked about Hollywood has all those Fincher-esque visual stylistic elements, and sort of the legend of Fincher, that you do 100 takes and all the different specific things he made to look like an old movie, I think and those technical elements I think will be appreciated enough to get him a director nomination. Then I have here Regina King for One Night in Miami. I think this is an actress that she's not acting in the movie, she directed the movie, and has always been well liked. 4 Emmy wins, 1 Oscar win, and I think it will be a scenario where they just want her, they really like her, they like her movie, they appreciate what she did with it, but more so they want the sort of celebrity of Regina King to be nominated and to be at their award show. And then with my final pick, I went with Paul Greengrass for News of the World. I think this slot will go to a movie that has not been nominated for Best Picture, film drama or comedy musical, and in this case I went with News of the World because I think it is the most liked versus something like, I believe in it more than something like The Five Bloods for Spike Lee. I think Paul Greengrass is someone who's very well respected within the industry, and every time he puts out a movie it is seen and well liked, and I think this is a sort of old-fashioned movie which should appeal to more of the older demographic of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, and could get in for Best Film Drama as well, but has a little bit more of the technical elements, the Western elements, and some of those elements that are more well appreciated and more associated with directing, the sort of technical feature of it, of which News of the World has plenty technical amazements, being a period film, and so on and so forth. Best Screenplay, I have Trial of the Chicago 7. Similar to, I said, Aaron Sorkin, he's a known writer, has a distinct style for a movie they should like. Nomadland, another movie that doesn't have a lot of dialogue, but should be sort of propelled by the success of the movie. I have Mank here, which is a sort of great quippy screwball comedy type dialogue and sort of all the inside jokes that the Hollywood Foreign Press Association will know and will appreciate and will sort of like that script. One Night in Miami is talking about these complex racial issues and really confronts it head on and does it with a deft tone and a play-like tone that they'll appreciate. And similarly, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is my final pick because of that play tone, because it gives these actors these big long speeches to do, and it has very noticeable dialogue. Therefore I think they'll appreciate the writing in the movie. Best Animated Feature, I have Soul, which is the big Pixar movie that everyone is really enjoying and has the critical acclaim and sort of the adult type respect and themes that it tackles. Wolfwalkers, another film from the Cartoon Saloon, which is a well-respected studio who's been nominated time and time again. Onward, once again Pixar, and maybe not as well received as Soul, but still well received enough and still original and unique, and should be nominated in some of a weaker year. Over the Moon should be sort of the heartwarming, kid-friendly, but still childlike innocence kind of perspective that Netflix is pushing, and we've seen Netflix do very well with Claws and I Lost My Body, both getting nominated last year, so the Netflix element has really been promoting in terms of their animation. I expect that to continue with Over the Moon. And then I have here Crude's A New Age, just because I think they'll want to nominate the most recent kind of big blockbustery type animation movie from a big studio, where the Oscars animation branch tends to be a little bit more independent focused. The Globes tend to be a little bit more general, and the Crudes is the most sort of recent general kind of a studio fare that I expect to get nominated. Then for Best Original Song, I have Wear Your Crown from the Prom. This is a movie, like I said, the Prom should be very well liked. This is the song that they're campaigning for, so it should automatically in a way get in here because it's the original musical song that was original for this movie. Wear Your Crown, they not lock it in. Speak Now from One Night in Miami feels like this sort of big justice kind of a song that gets nominated, so I expect that to get here as well as I believe in the movie. Just Sing from Trolls World Tour, they nominated the last Can't Stop the Feeling Trolls movie, and I think this song just has so many celebrities don't want to nominate here. Justin Timberlake, Anna Kendrick, James Corden, so on and so forth. Turntables, All In, The Fight for Democracy. This is done by Janelle Monáe, someone who I think is well liked within the film community because of her roles in something like Moonlight. She's presented at the last year's Oscars as well, so she feels like was still within the film community, even though this is a documentary, political, feels relevant. And then Rocket to the Moon, Over the Moon. I expect this movie to be seen because I expect it to get nominated for Best Animated Feature, and it plays a key pivotal role within the movie. Therefore I expect it to sort of people, when thinking about Best Original Song, will go, oh yeah, that one song from Over the Moon, that was very sweet, the same way they did for something like Coco, Remember Me. Best Original Score, I went with News of the World. This is a movie that I think should be well respected, but particularly James Newton Howard is someone who has been nominated many times before, never won an Oscar, but I believe has won a Golden Globe, so should be sort of respected and has sort of the old-fashioned classical sweeping score that should be well appreciated. Soul has more of an electronic element, but is done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Their score for Mank could very well get in, but I don't have it right now because I think they're going to go up there and pick one, and I think Soul has been winning a lot of the critical groups, so expect that to be sort of the one that gets singled out. Plus, I think it's a little bit more of a recognizable and noticeable score, where the score for Mank seems to be, well, very good. Maybe it will be sort of lumped into the, oh, it feels like an old movie, so it feels derivative. Then I have The Midnight Sky, who was done by a multiple Golden Globe winner and often favorite, Alexander Desplat, for a movie I think will sort of appeal to older members and people who really appreciate someone like George Clooney. And that could be a movie that surprises and gets a George Clooney director nomination, so I expect that to also do well here, and seems to be more of a technical movie. A Tenant, but done by the new hot kid, Ludwig Göransson, who won for his score for Black Panther. So I expect this one to be sort of the pulse-pounding action score that people don't forget about and nominate here. And then my final slot, I went with Trial of Chicago 7. This is because it's by Daniel Pemberton, who was nominated for a Golden Globe for Steve Jobs and for Motherless Brooklyn. Both situations, particularly with Motherless Brooklyn, where people were like, I didn't even realize it had a good score, of which definitely check out Motherless Brooklyn. It's terrific. There's just big Daniel Pemberton fans, and the Trial of Chicago 7 should be well liked, so I think that's sort of the dark horse that you can bet confidently on. And then my final selection here, Best Foreign Language Film. The first one being Minari, because this is not competing for Best International Feature at the Oscars, but it is a very well-liked movie and should be well-liked. But similarly to The Farewell, I think will sort of just be relegated. Very well could win for Best Foreign Language Film and is being submitted by the US, funnily enough. But it's a movie that's been getting a lot of Oscar buzz and critical buzz, and therefore should get nominated here. The Life Ahead is a movie by Sophia Loren. Sophia Loren could definitely get nominated for Best Drama Actress as sort of the old golden age star that they want to recognize. But the movie itself, distributed by Netflix, is a movie that has heartwarming and feels relevant, and their connection is really honest, and she's really terrific in the movie. And I think the sort of sentimental, sweet element to the movie, it doesn't feel like a foreign film that's hard to get into. It feels like something like The Untouchables in the way that it's so sort of sweet and earnest and honest and a feel-good kind of a movie that I think the voters will appreciate. I also have Another Round. This is the Danish film, which has a lot of critical appreciation and seems to be the best foreign language movie of the year, which oftentimes, and particularly the Globes, will like to recognize movies like Tony Erdmann and Portrait of a Lady on Fire that didn't get nominated at the Oscars, often got nominated at the Globes because they like to nominate the sort of critically best Oscar foreign film of the year. And so in this case, this year, it's Another Round. Then my last two picks, I went with I'm No Longer Here. That's the Mexico selection, because this is a movie that has, I think is, where Minari and The Life Ahead aren't eligible for Best International Feature. I think they'll, and I think they're going to get nominated. I think their other slots will be reserved for movies that expect to be nominated for Best International Feature at the Oscars. And I think I'm No Longer Here will be one of those movies that campaigns and does well. Then Night of Kings, which is more of a movie from Ivory Coast, and it's done by a director from Ivory Coast, but went to school in France and feels sort of in a way like the sort of French kind of elitist, kind of respectable filmmakers, and takes a unique approach to this. Also premiered at TIFF, and I believe it's a co-production with Canada as well. So there's a lot of countries behind it as well. It's not just Cote d'Ivoire, so it has that extra element of being sort of European too, which the Globes definitely more like than, say, African or Middle Eastern films in this category. But those are my picks. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you comment below, let me know your picks, and stay tuned to this channel where on Wednesday I'm going to be giving my Golden Globe reactions. You'll see the video on Thursday, and then the following Monday I'm going to be giving my SAG reactions and constant videos. So this couple weeks we're going to be seeing a couple of videos from me a week. So I hope you appreciate this output. It'd be really great if you comment below, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. All those things really do help. But that's about it, guys. Until next time, stay tuned.